Hi, I'm Robin Armbrecht at Really Robin Stamps. Welcome to my craft space. If you have purchased Stampin' Up! Products from me and you're trying to figure out how to get started with them, this tutorial is for you. So this video is one in a series of getting started videos, and my goal with them is to give you the most use and enjoyment out of the products that you've purchased from me. So I'm calling this video Putting Your Stamps to Work for You. And we're going to cover three things. We're going to cover the two different kinds of stamp sets. We're going to cover how to assemble your stamps. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks for using your stamps. So let's get started. Stampin' Up! Carries two different kinds of stamp sets. One is called Cling stamp set and one is called Photopolymer. So the first thing that you want to do is check and see which kind of stamp set that you purchased, because they have different advantages to each different version. So let's talk about the Photopolymer stamp set first. So these stamp sets come on sandwiched in between these two plastic sheets like this. So you'll get kind of a heavy duty plastic sheet and then this thin plastic sheet. And the images, pictures are printed on the insert to the DVD case that it comes in. So once you get this stamp set, you can peel off this very thin piece of plastic and then kind of transfer these stamped images onto your case. And if you put them right where the pictures are, that's going to allow you to keep track of your images. So I usually just put them right like that. And then you can use this piece to kind of protect them and just lay that on top. And then when you get ready to use them, you just pull that off and then decide what you want to use. And these are ready to go right out of the package. You just pull them off and stick them on a block, and then you're ready to stamp with them. So let's stamp this little heart really quickly. Like that. They're ready to go. So one of the advantages, because you can see through them, is it makes it very easy to line up your images. So just because you can see through the block and the stamped image, you can line these up very easily. One right on top of the other, or if you're doing two-step stamping. So a lot of the images that or the stamp sets that you see in the catalog that come in Photopolymer, the reason is because they're either two-step stamping or the images need to be arranged a certain way to create your stamped image. And this makes it really easy. The other advantage to these is they have a slightly lower price point because the process for making them is less intensive than it is for the other cling mount stamps. So they're a little bit less expensive, which is kind of nice. When you are getting ready to use your Photopolymer stamp sets, you might notice that they're a little bit glossy. So the thing that's really cool about Photopolymer is that the rubber is actually sticky and it maintains its stickiness throughout the life of your stamp set. But when you first get it, the side that has the image on it is kind of shiny. So sometimes when you make that very first impression with your Photopolymer stamps, maybe the ink might not stick as evenly to your image. I mean, that one did just fine. So sometimes what I like to do with a brand new Photopolymer stamp set is I just kind of rub it onto my hand or my arm, and it just kind of brushes off that little bit of shine and makes the images work really, really well. All right, so that is Photopolymer. The other thing that's really cool about Photopolymer, let's see, so we'll do it on this one here. Because they're flexible, you can actually bend the images if that makes something exciting, you know, in your stamping. So here I can take that greeting that was straight, and just by bending it on my block, I can kind of change it up a little bit. So you have a lot of flexibility there when the stamps are flexible as well. So that's photopolymer. So the other kind is cling mount, and they come also in a DVD case. And you're going to get two things inside of your DVD case. You're going to get the sheet of sticker labels, and these are sticky to help your stamped image attach to your block. And then you're going to get the sheet of the red rubber. Now this is the highest quality made in the United States rubber, and so it produces great stamped images. But you have to do a little bit of assembly before you can use them. So let me show you how these get put together. So the first thing that you want to do is take these images out of their die cut sheet. So when these get produced by Stampin' Up, they have a template that creates these, and then they die cut around them to make them really easy to put together. So this you can save or get rid of. So I'm going to just set it aside for a minute. I'll show you one idea to use with that. So here are all of my stamped red rubber cling mount stamps. And what you can see that you have here, you've got the sheet of rubber, you've got a piece of foam here, and then you've got this sticker that pulls off. All right, and this is not sticky. This is here just to keep the foam clean until you put the sticker on there, okay? It will stick to your stamp, so if you just refuse to put stickers on for whatever reason, some demonstrators like that, it will stick, but it won't stick as tightly as when you have the sticker on it. So the first thing you're going to do is peel that off, and then you're going to find your sticker sheet. Now, one side of the sticker sheet where you can read the images or you see them going in the right direction, this is the back side, okay? So you want to flip it over to this shiny side here where you can see that the sticker is going to come apart like that. So I'm going to do this one holiday here. There's two ways to do this, so let me show you both ways. So let me zoom in. Let's see if that helps a little bit if I zoom in. All right, so we're going to do this one holiday. So I'm going to take the backing off of that. And then I'm also going to take the sticker backing off of this sticker sheet. So these are the exact same shape. They're cut with the same template so that you will be able to set that right in there, okay? So this is actually sticky on both sides. The sticky that we're facing right here is what's going to make it stick forever to this foam. And then the sticky that's on the other side is what is going to make it stick to this block, okay? So all you have to do is line this up. Just set it down real slowly right in that opening, and then I like to press it down, and then you peel it up like that. And so now this side is the sticky that's going to help it stick to your block, and then you're ready to go. So let's give this one a try. Perfect. Okay, so I said there was two ways to put these together, and that is true. Another way that you can do this is to just kind of do it in the opposite way. So for this, you need to use one of your acrylic blocks that you use to stamp with. So let's go ahead and put this one together since I took the sticky off. This one's our Halloween. So I'm going to find the Halloween sticker. Instead of pulling this backing off, I'm going to pull off the entire sticker from this sheet. Like that, and then I'm going to stick it onto my block like that, okay? Then we can take the sticky off, and I like to just use my little take your pick tool for this, but you could use the tip of scissors real easily, or you could use a push pin. You're going to take the sticker off, or the backing, it's not the sticker, the backing. And then you're going to take your image and put it upside down, and then we're just going to do it in the opposite direction. Okay, so instead of lifting it up like that, we're just doing it in the opposite direction. This is a little bit easier for some people because you can see the sticker through, sorry, I have to concentrate. You can see the sticker through the block, and then you just set it down right on top of there. And you can get that on real straight. Now you want to take your time with this because there isn't a whole lot of forgiveness if the sticker touches that foam and it's not quite straight. It's really quite impossible to pull it off. And that has happened to me before, and it doesn't ruin how your stamps. You just have to make note that this one might not be as straight as, you know, when you go to stamp it. You might not be able to rely on the picture image to line up your stamps. Now, the thing about cling mount is, especially when you've just put the sticker on, it's nice and tight on this block. Like, it's never going to come off. You can clean it and reuse it and clean it, reuse it. It's not going to fall off by itself is what I meant. It will come off. So to get it off the first time, when you're pulling this, don't pull it just by pulling the rubber or the foam. You want to make sure you're grabbing the whole thing when you pull it off your block. And then you can just stick it back on and pull it back off. Especially for the images that are really tiny, like this little to and from, you want to make sure you're just grabbing the whole image to pull it off. So once you get these all put together, then you can just stick them back onto the back of your stamp case. And when that's all closed up, you'll be able to see on the back of the case, you know, you'll have a picture on that side and a picture on this side of what is in this stamp case, which is really, really helpful. Something you can do, and a lot of people like to do this, is to just, you can take off this little piece here, and it doesn't make it stick, but it doesn't slide it around as much. And you can put this back inside, and then you can store your images back into the little die cuts where they came out of, like that. And it would, the purpose being, it would tell you, you know, if something was missing from your stamp set. So you do have that option as well. I don't usually do that. I don't really find that I lose my stamp images, so this just kind of slows me down when I'm stamping, so I won't usually do that. Okay, so that's how you put together a cling mount stamp set, and I will finish that one a little bit later. So the other thing that is interesting about getting started with either of your cling mount or photopolymer is that you need some acrylic blocks to make these images, to use them, to put them onto paper, right? These are the different size blocks that Stampin' Up! Has that coordinate with every single image that there is. And there's a place in the catalog, and I'll show you, it's on page 145, where you can purchase these different blocks. So what's really nice about this method is that you really just have to have one set of blocks or certain ones, and then you can use them with any stamp set and you're ready to go. So for example, let's look at this stamp set right here. This has 11 cling stamps. So this is how you know whether you're buying cling mount or if you're buying photopolymer. You just look at the description. So this has 11 cling stamps. Suggested clear blocks are B, D, and E. So when you're getting started, you can think, okay, what do I need? This is D, and this is B, and I don't know my blocks here. What did I say I had? I had D, B, and E. That's this one, okay? So they've already kind of shown you that which ones you would need to be able to stamp or to fit onto the block for the image size that you have. So that's really helpful. I very rarely, unless I've purchased a background stamp, use this one or this one. I find that most of the time this is the biggest block I need for the majority of my stamping, but again, it depends on the stamp image that you get. But these sizes right here, which are E, D, and C, they really can go a long way in working with just about every single stamp set. So those are the ones I use the most, but I do use the rest of these little ones. I just use these two largest ones a little bit less than all the rest. So if you're thinking about getting started, you can buy one whole set of the blocks. I think you save 10% if you buy them all at the same time, but you definitely can get by with just buying a few that match the stamp sets until you get a feel for how you like to put your images on the blocks. Okay, let's move those aside for a second. So the other thing I wanted to tell you about red rubber, I think I forgot to tell you. This is the way, or the medium that's been used for rubber stamping for a long time, because the red rubber creates the most detailed and sharp images. So it's actually my very favorite kind of stamp set because the images that you get are just crystal clear. Now, I feel like using the photopolymer stamps is also very brilliant. There's just a very small difference between them, but you know, I've been stamping for 21 years, and so all my stamps in the beginning were red rubber with wood blocks. And that's just my favorite. I love the feel of that in my hand. But when you're stamping with the red rubber, there's that layer of foam there. So you automatically get this little cushion when you are stamping. So you can stamp and the stamp gives, okay, when you are pushing that against the paper. You don't get that when you have a photopolymer stamp. It's hard, right? I mean, even though it's flexible, there's none of that foam there. So a lot of times what we like to do is make sure we're stamping on a surface that has a little bit of give to it. So if you get this Stampin' Pierce mat, that's a really nice way to just add a little bit of cushion to your surface so that when you go to stamp with photopolymer, then you get a nice crisper image. And this really comes into play when you have a stamp set that has a lot of surface area. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So for example, this stamp set right here, Watercolor Shapes, has very, the surface area of the image is a lot greater than this detailed stamped image. So when you're trying to get ink onto this stamp, it takes a little more work to make sure that you're getting ink everywhere that it needs to go. Okay, so let's just stamp it 2 different times here. We'll stamp it once without the mat. And then we'll stamp it again with the mat. All right, they look a little bit different. So you can see how, now see, let's look at the picture because it is supposed to stamp. It is supposed to stamp like that. This is a distinctive image, and so the surface of the stamp has a little bit of texture on it, and so it's going to provide different values of the ink color because of how the surface of the rubber is. So this one, let's see if I can get that closer. This one looks more like the picture because I'm able to get those extra values. This one, I wasn't able to push it as the foam wasn't there to allow it to hit the paper in the same way. And this is just something you're going to get a feel for as you do more and more stamping. The other thing I want to tell you about photopolymer images is that once you use them, that photopolymer is not going to stay, it's not going to stay clear. It's going to get tinted by whatever colors you use. And it doesn't matter if you choose to not use red or pink or any of those rich dark colors. Even the lighter colors are just going to stain the images. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect how the stamps work. It just happens because it absorbs the pigment in those inks. That doesn't necessarily happen to the red rubber images. They can get totally cleaned. The only way that they wouldn't get cleaned is if you use our permanent stays-on ink and you don't clean it off right away. They'll get a little bit of a black tinge to them, but otherwise all of the other classic inks will wash completely off of the rubber images. Okay, so I just want to send you back to this one right here so you can see in the catalog here this stamp set where we just put that together. That was a cling mounted stamp, and it's just using blocks A, C, and D for that. Now, one of the advantages also of cling mount stamps, so let's look at this one right here, is that you have a little bit of control over how you want to put your images on the stickers. Okay, so this one has, I'm going to show you the number here. This has 4 cling stamps. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. I love words. I always get all the word stamp sets, but I wanted to be able to use this piece on earth without that dove. Okay. So when you have the red rubber, you have kind of a little bit of an option to do a little surgery on your stamps. Okay, so once I put the sticker on the whole thing, as long as there's enough room between maybe the image and the script, I will do my own little cutting just so that I could use this dove by itself, and then I can use this piece on earth by itself. So I did that also with this Sending Thanks, which had this little what do we call that? A little sprout of wheat. It had that on the end, and there was enough room in between the last letter and that I could cut those apart. So you have some options. I'm not saying you can't do that with photopolymer, but it's a little bit different. It's just a little bit different. So that's kind of a nice thing to keep in mind. Okay, so that's how you put your stamps together to use. Let's talk about cleaning them, because once you've used them, you need to be able to put them away and store them for next time. So there's 2 methods for cleaning your images. One is the Stampin' Scrub, and this comes in this great little case right here. It has 2 sides. One has a little sun and one has little raindrops. So you wet one side and then the other side stays dry. I usually run this under the sink and then blot it dry, and then I use our Stampin' Mist Cleaner and I spritz some of that into the Stampin' Scrub. And so now it's got a little bit of stamp cleaner, and then I'll just take my block after I use it. My image, I just keep it right on the block, and then I just wash it and dry it with the Stampin' Scrub. And it's got a nice little fresh smell to it. Now, if you've got a photopolymer stamp set, you can absolutely clean it in the same way, but sometimes because this rubber is sticky, remember the whole piece is rubber and it's sticky, it will collect a little bit of these little fuzzy fibers. It's not a huge deal. I tend, again, this is a new way to clean stamps. I tend to still use this one a lot. Doesn't mean that's, right or wrong, but there's a new way. This is really an inexpensive way to go. We have this little piece here called a Stampin' Chamois, and it's just exactly what you think it is. It's a chamois, and it works really great to also clean your stamps. You can just take your photopolymer on there. There's no fibers to pick up at all. And then I just keep this in a little DVD case that you can get from Stampin' Up, and I just keep that on my desk too. So after you get a lot of ink on there, you just run it under water and wring it out, and it stays dirty like this, but it doesn't affect how it cleans at all. So that's how you clean your stamps. All right, the other thing I want to share with you is when you have a stamp set that also has dies that coordinate with it, like this hand-penned petals. It comes in a bundle, so you would get the stamp set and then you would get a set. You could, if you wanted the dies, you could get the dies as well. They come in this little envelope on this little card right here, and the card has some double-sided tape in there. So when you get a set of dies that has this little card in here, it really fits right into your stamp case. So you could add some adhesive on the back of this card and stick it in here, and that way you've got your stamps and your dies that coordinate together right there next to each other. Now you can see this particular die set has a bunch of little dies that aren't sticking on the two little pieces of tape there. So you can purchase, not through Stampin' Up, but you can find online very easily. There's other companies that have these little 5x7 inserts that will go into a DVD case, and you can stick all your dies on there and then keep it in the DVD case with your stamps. So that's another little tip and trick. Now these, this costs extra money. So when you're just getting started, don't do that right away. Just use these, tack them in here, and see if that works for you. See if you like having them together. You got to make whatever system you create work for you. Okay, here, I'll show you an example. Now I literally, I tell you, I've been stamping 21 years and I just bought these for myself. So you don't need them, right? It was a treat that I bought myself, but this is, this is how it would look then if you would have your little magnets with your stamp case. Okay. So we went over the two different kinds of stamp sets, cling mount and photopolymer. We went over how to assemble the cling mount and then how to store them. And then we went through some tips and tricks for using them by using the foam piercing mat with your photopolymer and how to clean them off. So I hope that you got some good information and that you are going to go put your stamps together right now and stick them on some blocks and start stamping. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.